is nothing wrong with your podcast streaming service. We now control your device. This is not a test. This is Podcast of the Paranormal. Close your curtains and stay away from your windows. Lock your doors, turn off your lights. Get your snacks and drinks ready. Get to your basement or attic. The podcast is about to begin.
Hello, and welcome to Podcast of the Paranormal. I'm Jody, and I'm here with Gabrielle.
Hello.
Jeff is not here with us tonight.
He's not able to make it.
He's not able to make it. But we have the dog and the cat here, so you're going to hear animal noises periodically. We can't do anything about that, because if we leave them outside the recording area, they're going to scratch at the door, and they're going to
drive us crazy to come in.
So I apologize for that, but it is what it is. Tonight, we're here to talk about growing up in a haunted house.
Yes.
Something I don't have much experience in.
But I do.
And by the way, she's one of the only people that will literally just jump right into it, talk about how her house was haunted when she was growing up. Not too many people will do that. Gabrielle's always very happy to share her experiences.
Yeah.
I've heard enough of them. It's going to be a very Gabrielle heavy podcast episode tonight, I feel.
I think, maybe. At least in the beginning. Little background. I grew up in a late 1800s Victorian house. I grew up here in Scranton in Pennsylvania. It was a, little painted lady, an old Victorian house. And it had a lot of character. I remember my parents renovated it when I was around 10. And there was still knob and tube wiring in the walls that they were removing. So that was pretty interesting. I never saw that, but I did when I was 10.
You probably did see that, though, when you were up crawling around in the attic and you fell through the ceiling, though, right?
I was older when I fell through the ceiling of the attic, actually. I was around maybe 13.
Oh, yeah, that must have been fun.
12.
Your dad probably loved that.
I mean, it wasn't the best day.
No?
No. We were definitely grounded.
Yeah,
had a lot to clean. There was a lot to clean. But, yeah, not too bad.
Tell us a little bit about the house then.
Yeah, old Victorian house that we had grown up in. I'm not sure how many owners there were before we moved in.
And you said it was built sometime in the 1800s, late 1800s?
Yeah, late 1800s. I think 1860 something. There's a little stone pillar. Mm-hmm. It's the little stone
on
that has a little
the corners
of
the property. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think it says 1869 on it.
Yeah, well.
So I don't know if that's when the house was born. I don't know if there was something on the property
Our
before.
house is born? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the house was born and...
This house was born.
This house was born.
It was half.
It has a personality. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely has a personality.
I mean, does it still have a person? Does it still have an activity?
It comes and goes in waves, I think. It's
kind of hard to answer that question, though, right? Because you don't live there anymore. It's your parents' house.
Yeah, but even when I visit, I kind of, and my parents will even talk about it. It'll stir itself up and then it'll quiet down and stir itself up.
Yeah.
Over the years.
So has your mom had any experiences?
She's had experiences, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to share any of those with us?
Some of them are hers, yeah.
Yeah.
I could start right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So one of my first memories actually is of when you came up the stairs, my bedroom was to the right. It was the first door right to the right that you would see at the top of the stairs. Right outside the bedroom door, there was a mirror on the wall. And you could see right out my door. You could see right to it. You could see right into the mirror. I would be playing in my bedroom. And if I would look out of my door, there would be a man standing there. Sometimes I would be able to look at him directly. Sometimes it was only really out of the corner of my eye, or he'd be gone.
Yeah, which is a thing, right?
Yeah.
You're always catching glimpses of figures out of the corner of your eye.
Right. We were only able to see them out of the corner of your eye. Mm-hmm. So I had learned to study him out of the corner of my eye. He was probably a middle-aged man, maybe 30s, 40s, 50s. He had a tan suit. It almost maybe looked like it was velour, not quite cotton or polyester, but almost it was a little bit of velour or velvet or something.
Any facial features, or was it not?
I mean, I can see his face when I close my eyes.
So what I mean is did he have a beard or facial hair?
He might have had a mustache.
Okay.
He had dark hair, almost black hair. Mm-hmm. He kept it really short. He kept it short, like he was going to get his hair cut. But he had short, dark, almost black hair. He would just watch me, never really interact, just kind of watch for a little while.
More of like an observer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't bring it up till I was an adult. I was maybe early teens.
Okay.
I was about 5 or 6 when this happened. Yeah, he would just watch me play. I brought it up to my mom, I think, and my dad when I was maybe like early adolescent, like 10, 12.
And how did that go? Because I could imagine your dad like right away saying, you didn't see anything.
Yeah, I said this man used to watch me play outside of my room.
The man in tan. Is that what we're going to call him?
The tan man. Yeah, so I had described him to my parents, and my mom said he might have been my grandfather who passed when my dad was young. It might have been him. It could have also been a friend of my father's who passed when he was very young. It could have been either one of them. Just watching me.
So, I mean, it's cool that your mom and dad gave you input, though. I mean, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
I kind of described like what he looked like. I said he kind of looked like my one uncle.
Were they more concerned that there might be like a real like creeper, crawling around the neighborhood in your house, or was it?
No, it was never like. So my mom was really into the paranormal, which really kind of helped me get into the paranormal.
Oh yeah, your mom's exactly like you, or like you're exactly like her, I should say.
She would stay up late, watch scary movies. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I would go down. I would watch scary movies with her. Or she'd be awake, or we'd watch them during the day together. Like, we'd watch a lot of like older movies together. So she was like really into it. So growing up, I knew who the Warrens were when I was like really young because we would watch TV shows about them. And so it was,
I think really for me it was normal. Like Paranormal State around that when that show was on. I think that's when I started like really starting to pick up like the names in this field. So. And
I was probably like 6 to 8 years old.
Yeah, you're way younger than me.
An adult.
Yeah, but I was like a chicken shit though when I was growing up because I didn't like anything scary. I didn't like any scary movies. I remember sneaking, watching Killer Clowns from Outer Space and being absolutely terrified, not being able to sleep after watching it because that's what you do when you're a kid, right? Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to be watching it, so you sneak it.
Yeah.
Change the channel real fast when your parents come into the room or whatever. You watch it like hiding behind the couch when your parents are watching a scary movie. Yeah, my parents were not. They weren't really scary movie people. They wouldn't really promote it. It's cool that your mom could do that.
Yeah, she kind of encouraged it almost. Yeah.
Yeah, she trusted you with it. She knew that you were mature enough to, at 6, I don't know, that's reaching a little bit.
Or she saw an interest.
Yeah, or she saw,
Like I can remember being, I don't know, whatever year the Alien movie came out. I can remember them saying, we can watch it and then we will tell you if we think it's appropriate for you to watch.
Oh, yeah. We screen it first.
Yeah.
So I didn't. My parents were not like that. My parents did not want me watching anything I wasn't supposed to watch.
Yeah.
So they would really be like, they'd follow the rating system. If it was a PG movie, maybe I'd get to see it. PG-13, probably not until I was a little older. But, like I remember watching when I was a kid, the Beetlejuice on HBO. And I think back then, wasn't that like the sanitized version?
I think it was, yes, because
HBO?
my sister talks about how surprised she was when she watched it on.
Maybe not HBO, maybe like TBS or something like that. Because HBO probably would have had like all the curse words in there and all that. But, yeah, I mean that's cool. So I got to watch all the sanitized versions of these things when I was younger. Because my parents knew that I was a chicken shit, and I would, I'd lose sleep if I watched something I wasn't supposed to be watching. So, but anyway, we went off on a little bit of a tangent there.
Just a small one.
Just a smidge.
But she kind of encouraged it. I remember too, growing up, my mom's mom, my grandmother, she watched Dark Shadows when we were little kids, and we'd go over there and it would be on, and like you would just watch Dark Shadows.
Yeah, I remember seeing Dark Shadows on cable TV and being like, what the heck is this? This is so weird.
Yeah, so it was like the women, like on my mom's side, like my mom, her mom, and I don't know about her mom's mom. We've had the psychic dreams and things. So it was kind of like all down. It was just like what you did. You watched horror, you did paranormal stuff. It's just normal. So when I brought the fact that there was this guy staring at me, she was like, it's a ghost.
It's a ghost. Maybe. Your mom would say that. Yeah.
Maybe it's a family member. Or a friend who's passed, who's coming to check on us.
Or some random dude that lived there in 1873 and passed away in the house, right?
Yeah, it could have been, maybe the person who the house was built for or a previous owner.
Yeah, did you ever do any history of the house? Like look up the history?
I did. So I had grown up being told there was a mine fire on the hill.
Oh, yeah.
And when I was a kid, it would snow. Mm-hmm. and then it would freeze really quickly. So it would like snow, it would be snow, and it would freeze, but only on the hill. And then like around the top of the hill, like right around where our house was,
so you were getting like
you would have snow.
Yeah.
So you would get like the fire would melt the snow.
Oh yeah, it's like Centralia, like what you see in Centralia, yeah.
Yeah, but then I had just thought that was something that my parents were saying and, telling us. And then when I started to research the house as an adult, I learned it was like a really big deal. And it was in a lot of newspaper articles and people were going and like protesting about it. And then where we live now, across the street, the school, when that school had their mine subsidence and parts of the school went into the mine, they were comparing it to what happened on my street, saying this is just like that mine fire.
Yeah.
And they were like comparing it back and forth. So it was pretty interesting to know that at least the mine fire was true.
Yeah, a really cool story about that school too. I didn't want to give the school's name away, let everybody know where we live, but yeah, so we were antique shopping the one day, and we could see where the foundation for the school was. Not really the foundation, but the wall around the property that surrounded the school. So we were antique shopping, and we look at a picture on the wall. Someone had an old picture of the school, and I was like, oh, that's weird. But, when you go antiquing, that's what you find. You find old photos.
Yeah.
Could be people you don't know and whatever. So we look at it, and we flip it around on the back, I think, right? And it had...
I don't remember if it's the back or right on the bottom.
Anyway, we purchased this picture because it is a picture of the school that started caving into the mines and eventually burned down.
Yeah, right across the street.
And we have it hanging in our house now.
Yeah.
So we own a little piece of history. It's really cool.
I never saw the school before, so it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. All of our neighbors talk about it, though, because they remember, exactly what it looked like and all that.
Yeah, most of them were here. So that's the guy who would stand outside my room.
The man in tan. I like that.
The man in tan. And then there was the lady in red. She was kind of my mom's ghost. I don't know if my sister had a ghost. I've never asked. My dad was kind of always like, there's no ghosts.
Yeah, that's your dad, yeah.
A ghost had to kind of like come and shake his hand for my dad to really understand.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, my mom had the lady in red. And she would see a lady in red running from the steps, like in the hallway, like in that area. And she would see her running. And that's around the time like bad things would happen in the family. I think she saw the lady in red right before my grandfather passed away. So she would see this lady in red and she would be like, oh man, something bad's going to happen.
So that's great. Yeah, that's weird. So now you have an observer.
Right.
And then your mom's is basically it's like a warning, almost like a warning, like an omen. Yeah.
And then when I was probably early high school, I was in 10th grade and we had some people that chose to end their lives. So I was there was like 3 or 4 people at the time that had done it within a 3 to 6 month span. It was all like pretty quickly it happened. And it was a lot. I mean, it was a lot. Like some of them, like I knew personally, some of them I just were in the same school as me. Some of them lived like locally, but were in different schools, but it just kept like adding up. It became a lot. Then I started to see a shadow person in my room, but it was like I would sleep and I would always face my wall when I would sleep. And if I would wake up during the night, I would think to myself, don't roll over, because if you roll over, there's going to be something there and you're going to see it.
Yeah.
So don't roll over. And I would just lay there and face the wall and just kind of feel like it was there watching me, but never look. So one day I did look and I saw it. It was like a shadowed person and it was like a black shadow, but like darker than the rest of the room. And it was kind of like almost like a cloak, like a hooded cloak is what it looked like. It didn't really look like it had like a head or anything, but it was like a cloak shape. And my mom would always say, if you see a ghost, just ask it what it wants. She would always say that. So I was like, what do you want? And it didn't answer. And I was like, well, my mom said it would answer. So I got up and I just ran. I ran downstairs and I told her what happened. And she was like, oh my God.
And how old were you at the time?
Maybe like 16.
16, yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, there's a shadow person in my room. And she's like, no, there's not. So she came up and she looked, and of course it was gone. And it was fine for maybe a few months. And then I remember getting ready to go somewhere. I don't know if I was like going out or if we were going to a family event. My sister was in the hallway with my mom. And I was leaving my room, and my room had the chimney piece. So my wall was like flat, and there was the chimney, which would like come out, and it was right near the door to my bedroom. So it was like door to my bedroom, maybe 2 feet, and then the chimney. So as I was leaving, I went to turn off the light, which was like the opposite side on the other side of the door. And as I went to leave the door, like another shadow figure had like jumped towards me. So I come running out of the room like, oh my God, something just jumped at me. And they were like, no, it didn't. And I was like, it did. Something jumped at me. It was another shadow person. And they
Like
were like,
the same one or a different?
I don't know. I mean,
one?
it could have been the same one. It could have been a different one.
Yeah.
So they didn't, they went back in the room. Of course, they didn't see anything. And then it wasn't until maybe like 10, 12 years later, my sister and her fiance, husband maybe at the time, they moved back into the house. Well, their house was being finished. They were building it. And they were staying in my old bedroom. And she started to see the shadow figures. So then they started to believe that there were shadow figures in my room.
Again, is this like you're seeing something out of the corner of your eye or are you seeing direct?
I literally rolled over and he was there. And I was like, oh shit, what is this? Yeah, I like woke up and I was like, whatever, I'm going to roll over. There's nothing there. And there was. So I went and I told my mom, who was of course up watching scary movies during the middle of the night. So she came to check. And then the second one, I mean, same thing. It was just like, a shadow that kind of like jumped, like almost like lunged at me. It like came right at me. So I ran out of the room.
Yeah, I mean, as far as coming out of like sleep and seeing something, for me, my experiences aren't, they're not very direct like that. Like I've had sleep paralysis, right?
Yeah.
Where you are basically still asleep, but half awake.
Yeah.
And I've seen stuff like
your
that.
brain is awake, but your body's still asleep.
Yeah. So you'll see like, I've had a shadow figure like that in that case. I don't want to say like the devil, but like almost like a demon sort of thing, like something that's, not right, dark, black eyes, not really horns or anything like that, but it's like, it seems like it's not there to be friendly.
Right.
But I've never had any experience where it's remained after I realize what's going on and I come out of it, I wake up out of it. I mean, that's a pretty good story if you're seeing.
Yeah.
I've never really, yeah.
I always thought to myself too that I had created it, like with what was going on at the time, which is why I brought that up, like what was happening at the time. And
yeah. That's a good point.
Like, did I create it with like the way that I was feeling with the things that were happening at the time?
You mean like physically, like manifesting it, or like you're creating that in your headspace? Like, what is that? What do you mean by that?
Like, did I physically manifest it based on my headspace at the time?
I mean, the scarier thing would be if it was something that's negative that kind of feeds off that sort of energy, and you have all that really awful stuff going on in your life, and it's kind of sees that like
right,
like it's like a pair of eyes in the dark in the shadow, like like turning towards you, be like, oh, like
it needed that to to come back.
A way. I can use that, or I like this negative energy, and I'm going to pay attention, and I'm going to come over and see what what's going on.
Right. I always had dreams, like always these odd dreams about like monsters, but they were always the Universal movie monsters. So it would always be, Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula and the Mummy, and they would be like wandering down the street that night. So in the dream, we would be like at a party at my parents' house or something, and there would be people there, or we would just be there like together as a family, and these monsters would be on the street, and you would have to try to run from them and hide. So that was a recurring dream I would have quite often living there.
Sounds like Monster Squad. You ever Monster Squad?
One dream I had, there were spirits in the house throwing plates at us, and we had to leave because it was like so overwhelming and unsafe. We had to like leave the house. But in my dreams, like I can't drive very well. And there was a field, like an open field, 2 houses over that opened to another open field. So you could like boop, boop down to like the next street, like to the alley to the street. And then my brain also knew that our high school had a bomb shelter underneath it because there were signs everywhere and you could see them. And
this is where your obsession with nuclear war.
Yes. I have a fear of nuclear war. So my brain would always go, we have to get to the bomb shelter when I would have these dreams. So the monsters would come, and the only way to be safe was obviously to go to the bomb shelter under the school, which I've never actually seen, but I've had like people, I think my dad described it to me. I know where the door was in the high school, but I could never get into because like someone would always stop me when I would try. But that was the closest I ever got, was to the door of the shelter to go inside. But yeah, or like I'd be like, there's the door. And then like a teacher would be like, why are you here? And I'd be like, oh, I just want to see the bomb shelter. So I've never seen it. But I know that it exists because, again, like most of the elementary schools have signs that is there because they all encompass the shelter. So, yeah. So in my sleep, in my dreams, I would always relate to the bomb shelter. So many dreams. You have to get, the only way to save yourself is that bomb shelter. So I got a little bit older. I'm an adult. I move out for a few years and I come back with my kids. Well, even before that, I had my son and I lived there for about a year with my parents. We would hear things upstairs. You would think someone was in one of the other bedrooms making noise. So you would start to talk to them through the walls. And there would be like responses, not words or anything, but like noises and like, yep. So you would think you were having a conversation with someone. And you would go back downstairs to finish the conversation when they were down there. And they would be like, what are you talking about? And you'd be like, when we were upstairs.
Oh, so you think you're talking to family members.
Yeah. And they were like, I wasn't upstairs.
So what did it sound like? Did it sound like the parents in the Peanuts cartoon?
No, it would be like you would hear someone moving in the room in the other bedroom.
Okay.
And you would just kind of talk to them through the wall. And you would continue to hear the movement thinking they were there and they could hear you. And then you would go downstairs and you would be like, oh, you're down here, so now I can finish talking to you. And they would be like, what are you talking about? And you would be like, you were upstairs and I was telling you about this. And they would say, I wasn't upstairs. And you'd be like, oh, cool. But that happened to my dad. And that was when he started to believe that maybe there was something in the
so
house.
he actually experienced something too.
Yeah, he experienced it happen to him. And we were like, we told you it's happening. We told you you think there's someone upstairs.
Who was he talking to? Or who do you think he was talking to?
I think it was me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. There was a night where I was doing dishes and I thought someone had touched me or grabbed my hair. And then I saw what looked like a shadow go from the coffee pot to the front door. And I was like, all right, whatever. I ignored it. And then my mom came home and I had told her a few hours later what happened. And she said that she felt someone touch her when she was doing dishes. So I was like, all right, that's weird. So then we go to bed.
It was your dad giving her a hug or something.
So then we go to sleep. And in the middle of the night, we get a phone call that my dad's friend had passed away.
Yeah.
So he would always come over. He would get a coffee, have a cigarette on the porch with my mom. And he would always like bust on everybody. So like, did he come over? Was he teasing me, pulling my hair? And then he got a coffee from the coffee machine.
I mean, did you have like
outside,
a relationship with him? Like, were you...
Yeah, I mean,
You knew him as your dad's friend.
They had been friends since I was a kid. They used to live across the street from us when I was young.
It's like the neighbor that just shows up.
Yeah, I mean, he was
helps
like family.
Himself. Yeah.
Yeah. He would help my dad with stuff around the house. My dad would help him. They had been friends most of my life. We were friends with their kids. So we would go to like birthday parties, different things at their house. They were good friends. So it was like, all right. Then we found out the next morning, me and my mom were like, oh my God, like that had to be him. Coffee pot to the front door to have a cigarette. We were like, it all makes sense. It lines up.
Yeah. And how much of it, like, how much do these experiences, how much of them do you think are real and how much of them do you think are like, I don't want to say your brain playing tricks, but you go through a few stages of grief there and Our minds are creative, so.
But again, remember, we didn't know he passed away.
Oh, that's true.
We didn't know until that night, until we had gone to sleep for the night, that he had passed away.
Yeah, I mean, I've had experiences like that too, around when people pass away, and for whatever reason, like you think about them, then you find out, they had just passed away, or they're weird little experiences like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it growing up there.
That's a lot, right? That's quite a few stories.
That's enough.
If you had to pick one, which one would be the one that you would say absolutely 1,000%, this is probably, I can't explain it. Something supernatural happened. This is the one. This is like, was it the shadow person? Was it the man in tan?
Probably the man in tan.
The man in tan.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
I could literally describe that man.
That's what I'm saying. Listening to your stories, that's the one I would pick for you too, is the man in tan. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no
crazy.
reason I should be able to describe something in the detail that I can describe him.
Yeah.
To then have my mother say that could have been like one of two people that resemble that description. Like to the point that I could even say, his face kind of resembled when my uncle was young. When my one uncle was young, they had a similar face. And she would say, oh, you know who that probably is? It could be your dad's friend who passed away very young, or it could be because he had passed away, I think, just before I was born.
Yeah.
So I just missed being able to have him like meet me. But my grandfather passed away and my dad was just a little kid. So it could have been him too.
Yeah. I mean, did you see enough detail in his face where you think it could have been him?
I don't know if it was him or not.
Well, yeah, I know. But
I've always I've always leaned toward it was my dad's friend.
Yeah, because it would be really wild if you were like going through old pictures and you find like a picture of someone in a.
Well, I've never seen a picture of him.
Yeah.
Of my dad's friend, but I've seen pictures of my grandfather, and I mean, it didn't kind of look like him. But also, my dad's friend had a brother who he was friends with. Like, they're still friends.
Yeah.
That brother, when he was young, resembles my uncle when he was young. So I can imagine his brother and him look similar.
Yeah.
So they might both resemble my uncle.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just a weird story, right? Because you saw this thing, this whatever it was,
and
right?
it wasn't once. I mean, it was over time. Like, there were like weeks, months, years that I would see this man there.
Yeah. Do you have any other specific stories that you could think of?
Like in the house?
Yeah.
I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, I can't really say I had any experiences in my house.
No.
Growing up? No. I mean, there were a few things. Like, I remember when I was very young, I think it was a dove, maybe, used to like to perch in the corner where my room was. So you'd hear, like, sometimes at night you would hear the thing coo, and I'm like, I remember telling my parents, I'm like, what is that noise? And they didn't believe me. They never heard it. Whatever. So I kept bugging my parents about it. What is that noise? What is that noise? What is that noise? And then finally my mother heard it, and she was like, I remember like she turned white, and she's like, I have no idea what that is. And I'm just a little kid, so I have no clue. She has no clue. And we find out it was like a not a dove, a pigeon maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know, dove or a pigeon, whatever. They sound the same. They coo, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what was going on in the corner of the house. My parents built their house in like 1983. It was brand new when we moved into it. So there wasn't really much history on the property. But apparently there was a house. There was like 2 or 3 houses up there. They were built a long time ago. I don't have the history, so I'm not going to make it up.
Right.
But I would say sometime in the late 1800s, right?
Right.
Based off like when Scranton was kind of booming. So we know that there were old properties up there that were torn down, that people did used to live up there, I never felt anything weird. We found an old sewer pipe that was buried that obviously ran into one of these old homes that was no longer there. And the property behind my parents' house, there was, in the summertime, flowers would grow, but they were planted in like a pattern. Now this property was empty. Someone owned it, but it was an empty property. So it was basically like a field. But you could see where there was like a little pond and all these flowers planted around the pond. So there was probably a little spring there or something like that. And whoever owned that property back in the day probably planted that stuff. But I never really experienced anything. I never saw anything odd. I never really felt anything. But yeah, I mean, there's some weird things happened. I remember the one time I had friends over, we were playing Nintendo, Super Nintendo at the time. And my one friend was kind of like a scaredy cat a little bit. If anything ever like happened that was weird, she would freak out. She'd run home because we used to hang out, ride our bikes up and down the street. If she saw a car she didn't recognize, she'd be gone. Hey, where did so-and-so go? She took off on her bike. She's gone. She ran through, rode through the neighbor's yard. She's gone. So the one time we were in the basement playing Nintendo, like I said, and there's an exercise bike down there that my parents used. Two people were sitting at the Nintendo and we had a monitor, right? Because you can't hook the Nintendo up to the TV. Why?
It'll ruin your TV.
It'll ruin your TV, yeah.
Yeah, our parents were really big on that.
Yeah. You get the screen burn in and all that. And because TVs were expensive back then, right? You paid like, $500 for a 24-inch picture tube, right? Yeah, so we had two friends sitting there playing Nintendo, and then the exercise bike, the pedal started moving. Mm-hmm. And we all looked at each other and we're like, wow, that's really weird. And, my friend, the scaredy cat, gone, out of the house, gone. There was a swift breeze, a slamming of a door. She was gone. So, I mean, really growing up, that's really the only experience I have. I'm sure other things have happened that, as a kid, you just shrug it off and say, oh, that's weird.
Right. Or it becomes like normal.
But, I guess you just kind of forget about it, right?
Yeah.
So.
What about when you are in my parents' house?
Yeah.
And you're at the bottom of their stairs?
Stairs are a really weird thing for me. Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes like if I'm in someone else's house and I get like that feeling that I'm being watched, or I get, like that creepy something's following me, or for me it's always around like stairs.
But what about at the bottom of their stairs specifically?
Are we talking about the basement?
No, right in the hall there.
Yeah, I don't know. It does feel weird there.
Because we've always, me and my sister, especially at night, like you're running up the stairs. Like they have right.
Yeah, you're doing the thing.
The bottom of their steps is a door to go to the front of the house, and right next to the door,
that's the foyer area.
Yeah,
or as you call it, what is it?
Foyer. It's in the foyer.
Yeah.
So there's the door, and
we really should
take
comments about that. What's the correct pronunciation? Foyer.
Foyer.
Or foyer.
And right next to the door is a coat rack.
But I'm from Scranton, so like we have people that say toilet.
Creek and crick.
Creek. Yeah, the creek and crick. It's not a creek, it's a crick up here in Northeast PA. And
so there is the coat rack there, and it almost feels like you're about at the bottom of the stairs, like something is going to come out of that coat rack.
Yeah, that's the area.
And get you, and you have to like run up the stairs real quick. So we would always run up the stairs, me and my sister, especially in the dark.
Yeah.
And you'd come down the stairs and you just kind of stare at the coat rack and be like, not right now.
Of course you are. It's creepy. You got a hat on the top of the thing and
it's like a long coat rack.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay.
And it has like a shelf on the top and it's like mounted to the wall. So there is one other thing that used to happen, but mostly to my parents. So when me and my sister were teenagers,
and your mom would just tell you this stuff just to scare the shit out of you.
Well, no, she would tell us like what like when it would happen. So she would say that we would be out, my sister and I, and she would think one of us came home. And my sister especially was like elephants coming up the stairs, right? So loud. So they would be in their bedroom and they would hear someone come like running up the steps, and they would think my sister or me came home, and they would look, but neither one of us were home.
Oh, so yeah, okay. Phantom footsteps.
Yeah. What about here in the house where we live right now?
Yeah, so I guess we have some shared experiences.
Yeah, we do.
So our city has a really bad, I guess, record-keeping system. When we moved into the house, we had people telling us it was built in the 70s. All the records say it was built in the 60s. And there's even more records. Gabrielle found that there was another house on this property at one time that was torn down in, the 50s?
Probably in the late 50s,
Late 50s? Yeah, so a lot of stuff going on there. And honestly, our best source for the history of this house is our neighbors.
Yeah.
Because I am fairly certain that this house was built in, was it 1972?
I think everything says like sometimes in like the mid 60s.
Yeah, mid 60s, right. But then we found out that the property was purchased in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
And they were looking to build on it because there had been a mine subsidence nearby, or there was a
Again, the school across the street.
well, the school is like
had
really
the mine
across the street,
issue.
so it was maybe maybe the house that was here
was unsafe.
was unsafe. But I mean, it's all alleviated now. They flush the mine, they fill it, and no one really has any issues anymore.
The joy of living in a coal town.
Yes, I do have mine insurance though.
Yeah.
I will gladly pay that $120 a year.
Yeah.
So if my house goes into the ground,
Yeah.
they could build me a new one.
Like that movie, or like The House of the Fall of Usher.
Oh, sure.
Is that what it's called?
Are you talking about the series?
No, the Edgar Allan Poe story.
Yeah, didn't they just do a
The
series?
Fall
on it?
of the House of Usher. That's what it is.
Thank you.
Fall of the House of Usher.
Didn't they just do a series? Yeah, the
they
people
did
that did the people that did Haunting a Hill House, I think, right?
Yeah.
Did that? Yeah, that was a really good series. Yeah.
But what happens at the end to the house?
Falls apart.
Disappears. It's never there.
I thought it fell apart. Well, did
I
it fall
think it
apart
just
in
like
the series?
into the ground.
My memory is terrible.
But that's like what I imagine would happen to these houses. They would just like boop right into the mine.
Yeah. Well, that's
Like the
literally
fall
what
of the
happened.
House
They
of
would
Usher.
fall. A hole would open up in the basement, and
Yeah.
sometimes the foundation would kick in on one side of the wall, or
So
house would cave
maybe
in.
Poe lived in a coal town too. Who knows?
maybe. Well, he lived up in New England, though, didn't he?
He lived in New England. He lived in Maryland. He lived in Philadelphia. Yeah. He lived in a few places.
Coal towns. Yeah, that's where all the neighboring states use you for coal, and then don't invest anything into your area. And then when the coal goes away,
Yeah.
so does everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what type of experiences have you had here in our house?
Okay, so when we first moved in, there was the creepy statue. You remember the creepy statue?
Oh, the statue.
Yeah.
She still gives me the creeps.
So
Harlot Mary.
Harlot Mary.
It is a Virgin Mary statue, and she has like a veil over her head,
Yeah.
like cloaked over the top of her head, and she has praying hands, but her
it's really
shoulders are uncovered.
Yeah, yeah.
And her dress is like very low. So that's why we call her Harlot Mary.
She kind of has like a weird shaped head too. It's like almost like an alien head.
Yeah,
it's really
yeah.
weird. Yeah.
And we found her in the bathroom.
Yeah. For whatever
Downstairs?
reason, it was in the downstairs bathroom, just sitting in a bathroom on the vanity.
Yeah.
It's
So then we.
about 18 inches tall, somewhere around there, 16, 18 inches
I don't
tall.
even think she's that tall. She might be like 8 to 10.
No,
she's tiny.
no,
Yeah,
it's big.
she only
Definitely-
stands like this tall.
No, she's taller than that.
maybe this at the most. She's maybe 10 to 12.
I'm looking at my
inches.
Yeti bottle here, and I'm like, she's definitely maybe around the same size
Yeah,
as that.
she's probably about as tall as a
26
Yeti.
inch. Yeah.
I'd give her that.
Well, the 26 ounce Yeti, anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I'm not a good measurer. But
about
yeah,
12.
she just gives me the creeps to look at her in general or to think about her. But
Well, I
had
wanted to get rid of her, didn't I? I want to get rid of her.
Yeah.
I did say that. I said,
Yeah.
well, if you don't like it, just throw it out.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know, like it wouldn't be great to get rid of a religious statue. So we keep her. And I read that a lot of people put her near their stairs. They put Mary statues near their stairs to prevent falls.
And we're not saying that this thing is haunted or anything like that.
No.
We've never had any experience
No,
like
she
that.
just
It was
gives us the creeps.
well, more you than me.
Yeah. So
But-
I actually placed her near our basement stairs or near our basement door because my kids have bedrooms down there. So I figured when they became teenagers, when they got older, it would maybe like keep them safe and prevent them from sneaking out.
So you're creating
Mary
a
there.
you're creating a totem.
No, more of like a protection
Yeah.
in a way.
Well, which is it's a good thing you brought that up too, because that's what we do, right?
Yeah.
That's what religious people do. I think every Italian in Scranton has like a little
Totem.
statue of Mary in their backyard. Do you ever see them with the bricks
Yeah.
they build up and all that?
My grandmother made one
Yeah.
in her yard. Yeah.
For protection. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it's for, right? So it's funny. You're actually like taking your beliefs and putting that energy into something that's
I mean, I'm taking other people's beliefs.
yeah. You know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah. Being respectful of, what she means to people and not just throwing her away.
Yeah, but not even that. They believe it. They believe that this will protect them because they're
Right.
putting that energy into it. So you know what I'm saying?
So she's our little protector now.
She's our little protector. And then there was a little one. Do you remember the little one that was like right next to her? It was like
Oh,
3.5 inches.
That was my grandmother's.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we found
The
that
little
here
one
too.
was my
I thought they were
grandmother's.
like next to each other in the
And
bathroom.
when we were moving into the house, we found a rosary in the U-Haul truck, a little rosary bracelet. So we keep that like on Mary's hands.
Yeah.
So they're together.
But anyway, let's talk about some of the actual experiences that we've had here.
Yeah.
Forget creepy statues for now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the closet.
Oh, your closet experience.
The spooky closet. Which is actually, I'm looking at the closet right now.
Yeah, we're in the room with the closet.
We're in the room with the closet. This used to be my daughter's bedroom. And then my son moved out. My daughter wanted his bedroom. Switched her over to his bedroom, painted it, made it look nice and all that. Still haven't painted the pattern on the wall. It's over a year now. But anyway, I gained an office out of this.
Yeah.
And we're using this as a recording area. And anyway, look back to the closet. The one time my daughter was in her room, sitting in her bed, which is right next to the closet. I don't remember what we were talking about. I remember going into her closet and maybe putting clothes in there. I think it was put some of her clothes away. I remember saying my son's name and saying, "Hey, what are you doing in there?" and laughing. And then my daughter immediately said, "What?" And as she's saying what, I look in the hallway and my son is coming down the hallway. He goes, "Did you call me?" So I literally saw someone in the closet.
A little boy.
A little boy. I thought it was my son. And then confused the heck out of both of my kids. And that said, basically, don't worry about it. It's nothing. I'm seeing things.
And we didn't tell your daughter for a number of years because we were afraid that she would be afraid to sleep in the room.
Well, yeah, she was too young to understand that, hey, what would my dad see? You know what I mean? She was only like, she's probably 4 years old, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that was weird. I won't forget that. But clear as day, I swear I saw my son in there. Or someone who looked like my son, you know?
And then my daughter and I were in the basement one day doing projects on the Cricut. And we were sitting on the floor in the front room. And we heard a little girl laugh in her bedroom. And we were like, oh, what was that? We just kind of like laughed it off. And I remember my daughter being like, it's not funny. I have to sleep in there.
Well, yeah, because it could have meant anything, right? You were thinking, oh, it's a TV in the distance or something, or someone's phone going off or something like that, right?
My daughter and her boyfriend might be fun to come on the show to talk about the things they've seen here, too.
Yeah, well, they still talk about the giggling, and the giggling, Yeah.
Now, do you see the things out of the corner of your eyes?
I do. Yeah. This is the first.
Because you don't talk about it much.
No, but this is the first house. I mean, I've moved my fourth house now, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see stuff all the time. Like I am positioned against the front wall. To the left of me is the hallway, the main door out of the room with the hallway. And it's pretty common that I see stuff out of the corner of my eyes. Or my eye, it'd be my left eye, in the hallway. And I always think it's like one of the kids walking up and down the hallway. Or
the things that you see, are they only people? Or do you sometimes think it's one of the cats?
I know when it's the cats because it's low to the ground.
Okay.
But sometimes
have you ever seen something that you thought was a cat but wasn't the cat?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the cat.
Okay.
Yeah. I see cats all the time.
So you see a good mix, right?
Oh yeah,
People and animal. Okay.
Yeah. Like I could tell when if it's people sized, it looks taller. You could see that out of the corner of your eye. But by the time you look, it's gone. And I just don't understand this corner of the eye experience. I don't get it because you could see it clear as day in your peripheral. And as soon as you stare to focus on it, there's nothing there.
Now, do you ever see it and then you're like, and then you walk over to be like, what was it? But then there's nothing there. And you're like, okay, that was just.
I talk to it now.
Oh, you do?
I will literally talk to it.
What do you say?
I'll say, hey, what's up? What do you want?
Yeah.
I don't know your name.
Did my mom tell you to do that? I'm joking.
It's something I do. I mean,
I see it a lot coming, like when I'm walking past the stairway, I see something either walk by like into the laundry room or like peek around the corner from the laundry room.
What I see is basically out that door into the hallway. If you walk out of the door and you walk across the hallway, the bathroom is right there, but the wall's kind of split. So if you go a little bit to the right when you walk out of the hallway, that is the doorway down to the basement where the laundry room would be.
And again, a lot of it takes place around the stairs.
The hallway and the stairs, yeah.
The stairs are
Yeah.
like the main focal point for this.
Yeah, stairs are a really interesting thing for me because we'll get to it eventually, but I had a recent experience where I was like, for whatever reason, really focused on the stairs. And when our team focused on that area, we actually started getting activity where we didn't get much at all that night.
Yeah.
So, and stairs are an interesting concept, right? Because it's a transition space.
Right. You're looking at that liminal space.
Yep. It's in between. It's like you're going from one floor to another. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's a transition space is what it is.
And when you remodel a house, right, you don't really touch your stairs. They're kind of like the one thing that stays.
It stays, yeah. Well, I mean, most of the time, right?
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
No, but typically, I mean, you might put something over that existing part of the stairs, but you're not really changing, like, you know, the bones of the stairs. Like, they're pretty much staying. That staircase is typically staying.
You think about things in, you know, outside. You think about a bridge, right? And you look at folklore and mythology, and who lives under the bridge?
A troll.
And the troll. The trolls live under the bridge. And then, again, bridges are, that's a passageway
liminal
from
space, yeah.
one side to the other. You're crossing land over, you know, sometimes water.
Yeah.
Over to another part of the land, you know? So, like, if you look at stairs in that way, I mean, stairs are a transitional space. You know, there's a lot of activity, a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
You have to think about that. Same thing with bridges, right?
Yeah.
A lot of traffic on bridges, whether it's cars or people walking across, you know, horse and buggy, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of activity.
Now, do you see whatever spirit could be climbing? It doesn't really walk up the stairs. It like crawls up the stairs. Do you see that? No, that's just my.
No, that's
just
your,
my friend.
Yeah, that's your
I'm
friend.
so lucky I get to see it.
No, I don't. Is it your son? Are you sure it's not your
That's
son?
what I do think it is. Like,
Yeah.
it almost seems like it crawls to the top of the stairs and it like peeks its head out around the corner.
Why would you? All right, so just to explain to the audience here, why would you say something like that is your son? Give us a little information about your son.
Because he'll do things like that, and he'll think that if if we're coming into the room with him, he feels like he has to leave sometimes.
Yeah.
So like if he sees us up here when he's coming up here, he'll go back downstairs.
Yeah.
So it's like he's peeking out to see if someone's up here. I will see something that seems like it crawls to the top of the stairs, like down low. Like,
So are we
on
talking
his
like
hands
an
and
animal,
knees.
like a cat, or
No, a person.
a person? So that's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. So it will crawl like almost like on his hands and knees.
And by the way, folks, this is the first time I'm freaking hearing about this, so this is great.
On like his hands and knees to the top of the stairs. And then it almost like peeks around like the corner.
She's making a motion here, and it's like she's up on her front appendages and with like making like claw.
Yeah, like it's climbing the stairs. And then it gets to the top, peers around. And then I catch it out of the corner of my eye. But then when I look, it's gone.
You're a weirdo.
I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know.
What about the kitchen ghost?
Oh, our kitchen ghost.
We call this. This is our house spirit.
Yeah, it's our house spirit.
Yeah, I think the kitchen ghost is the house spirit.
Yeah. You know how people talk about...
Well, we literally did. Like, we did like a guided meditation the one night.
Yeah.
From another podcast, right? And I think I came to terms with the house's eyes were the kitchen window, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a kitchen ghost who likes to knock things out of our dish drain where we put our wet dishes to dry.
Well, the dish rack.
Yeah,
the dish
it
rack.
will like take out like Tupperware containers, spatulas, anything. It'll just knock them on, like fly them out onto the ground.
And the interesting thing about that one is everybody in the house
Yeah, we've all experienced it.
experiences it.
And sometimes we're all together and it happens.
Yeah. We'll be having dinner,
Yeah.
which is like right across. Our dining room table would be right across from the kitchen, and something would fall out.
Yeah.
You know, I'll give it, you know,
Sometimes things fall.
sometimes things fall, you know, like,
Yeah.
but it happens a lot.
And they like raise into the air and just drop. Like they don't fall. They raise out of the drain, out of the dish rack, and then they just drop.
Here's the thing about that. That I could say I've never experienced.
No.
I see stuff drop all the time. It happens all the time. It literally happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's the only place in the house that stuff falls on its own all the time out of that dish rack. The girls the one day.
I was going to say the girls hate it the most.
Was it a spoon
Yeah, it was a spoon.
or a spatula?
It was, yeah.
they saw it fall, and they said, yeah, I mean, what do you mean? What did you see? Like, we see things fall all the time out of there. Like, it's our kitchen ghost joking around. They literally said that this thing raised itself into the air and dropped to the ground.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah.
I would have liked to experience it myself. But, I mean, and this was before they really knew, because we were just joking around with them at the time. Oh, that's the kitchen ghost, because they know we're weird people and we go out and investigate and do weird things, right?
Yeah. And the girls, but especially your daughter, can really work themselves up about it.
Yeah, she does. Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't like it.
No, they do a really good job of getting themselves worked up when it happens.
And they do not like when we go paranormal investigating.
No.
They're convinced that we're going to bring something home with us.
Yeah. But I think the spirits that are already here are like, no, thank you. We're full.
Yeah. Yeah. They've already been, they're already here.
Yeah.
They've already been here.
We're at full capacity.
Yeah.
But what about like in any other rooms? Like our bedroom doesn't really bother me.
No, not at all. Nothing in the bedroom. Mm-mm.
I don't even have like weird dreams like I did.
It's just the one area between the hallway, the stairs going down to the
basement.
The basement, where the laundry room is, and the kitchen. Yeah. It's all like that area. And then of course the giggling that happens in the basement.
Didn't we just hear a noise? Was it today?
Yeah. What was that? Oh, was it?
It was almost like music.
Yeah, it sounded like music. Could have been something outside. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are noises. It's an old house.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of pops and ticks and that thing that happens to the back deck when the water freezes between the boards and the boards pop.
And it makes a big boom.
It sounds like a shotgun at 3 a.m. Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, that's scary.
Wakes us up. Yeah, that's fun.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other experiences here at the house?
No, not really. I mean, the kitchen ghost is our that's our big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just really weird. I mean, it could be anything really, but it's just weird. Everybody experiences it there. It's the only place in the house where like stuff keeps falling and stuff keeps happening.
Yeah.
And do you remember we had the old rack, the old dish rack? We got rid of it. We got one with taller walls.
Yeah.
It still happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very strange.
I feel like it definitely happened more with the old dish rack than it does with the new one.
Yeah, absolutely. But still, I mean, it's still happening.
Yeah. Have you ever had an experience that made you consider no longer investigating? Where you were like, this is enough. I'm not in it for this.
No, I haven't really.
No.
I was close once, but one time.
I mean, same. I think we're talking about the same experience.
Yeah, we definitely are. Yeah.
I did when we would go places sometimes to investigate, and they of course start up with the whole demon stuff.
Yeah, which I hate.
Yeah, I mean, that gets me a little bit nervous, and I'm like, do I really want to get myself into this? But then the more that you really experience it and learn about it, you realize that's like pretty rare.
Yeah, it's everything, pretty much everything is just like tiny little experiences that happen. You get an EVP here and there, a door unlatches, something like that. You get something. Mm-hmm. But nothing that's ever like demonic.
No.
That we've experienced anyway.
I mean, that we know.
That we would know of. Yeah. I wouldn't want that sort of experience.
Yeah. I mean, we did have the incident where we saw the shadow. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it took me months to go back to that place.
Yeah.
I'm still not totally okay.
Wasn't that long? Was it months? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't go back for almost 3 months. And I only went back because I was like, maybe, I mean, it chose us, right, to show itself to. Does it have a message for us? Does it want to communicate with us? And what is it? Why is it there?
Yeah, so the hell with it, right? Let's go back and talk to it.
So let's go back and talk to it. And what are you? My God. Why are you here?
I honestly cannot wait.
Right. Did we offend you? Like, how do we not do that in the future?
I honestly cannot wait till we could tell that story.
Yeah. I think it's coming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next couple episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe the next time we record with Jeff.
So anyway, we would love to hear about your haunted house stories.
Yeah. Or any experiences that you've had.
So you could contact us.
Yeah.
And how could they do that, Gabrielle?
You can find us at podcastoftheparanormal.com.
Cool.
Yeah. So send us stories.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your stories.
Yeah. Let us know if you want to be a guest, if you want us to read your story. If you know of any places locally.
In NEPA?
Yeah, in NEPA, Northeastern Pennsylvania, for those who aren't local. Or NEPA.
I mean, anywhere within the, I guess, like
Tri-state
the tri-state area. I mean, we're willing to get out there on the road and drive a few hours. You know, if you have a story and
we don't mind a road
come
trip.
check it out. And we are not limited to just ghosts. I know we talk about ghosts a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do. They're ghost investigations, right? But we are happy to talk about anything in the paranormal field.
Cryptids.
Yeah, you got Bigfoot running around out there? Hey, why not?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah.
I want to hear your stories.
Anything. Yeah.
So again,
you can find us at podcastoftheparanormal.com. You can find us on Podcast of the Paranormal, Facebook and Instagram.
You do that so well. I feel like that's your thing. Like I would not be able to.
Why?
I don't know.
It's not hard.
Just be happy that you do it so well.
It's just...
And you think it's just something we repeat on like pretty much every episode, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you would think it would come easy to me. But I always do the old, hey, you could reach us at, and I point at Gabrielle.
And then it takes me a second.
She rattles it all out. Yeah.
Like, why is he pointing at me?
Yeah. All right. You have anything else you want to say?
No, I think that's all we got.
So I think we're going to cut it here.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
you.
listening.
Thanks for listening.